Everyone in Riverbend City knew Mary as the quiet girl. Not quiet because she wanted to be, but because life had taught her that speaking only brought pain. Mary lived with her stepmother, Mrs. Ruth, and two stepsisters in a small, cracked house behind a busy market. Her father had died when she was just 10. From that day, her voice slowly disappeared. "Useless girl," Mrs. Ruth often shouted. "Do you even have a mouth?" one stepsister mocked. "Why do you always keep quiet like a fool?" the other laughed. Mary never answered. Every morning before sunrise, she swept the compound, washed clothes, cooked food, and walked to the market to help sell vegetables. She was just 17, but her eyes looked older, heavy with thoughts she never shared. At school, it was not better. Mary sat at the back of the class, her head always bent. Teachers thought she was dull. Students ignored her. Whenever questions were asked, she knew the answers, but her hands never went up. One day, her teacher said loudly, "Mary, if silence was a subject, you would be the best student." The class laughed. Mary felt the familiar burn in her chest, but she stayed quiet. What no one knew was that Mary spent her nights reading borrowed books by candlelight. She loved learning. Numbers made sense to her. Words danced in her mind. But she had learned early that when she spoke, people talked over her or laughed. So she chose silence. At the market, customers ignored her too. "Call your madam," they would say. "She can't even talk properly," another would add. Mary only smiled softly and continued working. One evening, as she was packing unsold vegetables, a well-dressed woman collapsed nearby. People stepped back in fear. "She might be cursed," someone whispered. "Don't touch her," another warned. Mary didn't think. She ran forward. The woman was breathing weakly. Mary remembered something she had read in a health book. She loosened the woman's scarf, helped her lie down, and used water to cool her face. Minutes later, the woman opened her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Mary only nodded. An ambulance arrived soon after. Before leaving, the woman held Mary's hand tightly. "What's your name?" she asked. "Mary," she said softly, one of the few times she spoke. The woman smiled. "You are special, Mary." Mary didn't know that woman was Mrs. Helen Carter, a powerful businesswoman and philanthropist. Life went on as usual after that day. Mrs. Ruth continued her insults. School remained painful. The world kept calling her useless. One afternoon, Mrs. Ruth announced, "I can't waste money on your school fees anymore. From tomorrow, you stay home and work full-time." Mary's heart shattered. That night, she cried silently into her pillow. But instead of begging, Mary made a decision. She packed a small bag and left before dawn. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she could not remain where her voice meant nothing. For days, Mary wandered. She slept in unfinished buildings and survived on small jobs. Despite hunger and fear, her mind remained sharp. One day, she saw a poster at a community center. Free skills and scholarship test for young women. Mary stared at it for a long time. She almost walked away, but something inside her whispered, "This is your chance." She went in. The hall was filled with confident girls talking loudly. Mary sat quietly in a corner. When the test papers were shared, Mary's hands trembled. But as she read the questions, her fear melted. She knew these answers. She finished early. Weeks later, names were announced. Mary James. She looked up, shocked. "You got the highest score," the instructor said. The room went silent. The girl they thought was invisible had outshone them all. For the first time, Mary smiled, not because she spoke, but because her silence had protected her strength. Mary's life changed the day the scholarship letter arrived. She held the envelope with shaking hands. It felt unreal. For years, she had been ignored, mocked, and pushed aside. Now a single piece of paper was opening a door she never thought she deserved. The program offered free education, accommodation, food, and skill training. For the first time in her life, Mary slept on a clean bed in a quiet room. No shouting, no insults, no one calling her useless. At the center, many girls were loud and confident. They spoke easily and made friends fast. Mary was still quiet, but something inside her had shifted. She was no longer afraid of silence. She had learned that silence could listen, observe, and grow. During classes, instructors noticed her quickly. Mary never talked much, but her work was always perfect. Her assignments were neat. Her ideas were deep. When others argued loudly, Mary listened carefully and later solved the problem calmly. One instructor said to another, "That quiet girl sees things others miss." Months passed. Mary learned computer skills, business basics, and accounting. Numbers obeyed her. Patterns made sense to her. She stayed late every night, practicing while others slept. One evening, a familiar face appeared at the center. It was Mrs. Helen Carter, the woman Mary had helped at the market. Mary froze. Mrs. Carter walked slowly through the hall, observing students. When her eyes met Mary's, she stopped. "You," she said gently. "Come here." Mary stood, nervous. "I knew I would see you again," Mrs. Carter smiled. "I never forgot your face." Mary lowered her head. "I didn't do much," she said softly. Mrs. Carter shook her head. "You did more than you know." Mrs. Carter revealed she was the sponsor of the scholarship program. She had been searching for the girl who helped save her life. When she saw Mary's name on the list, with the highest score, she knew fate was speaking. From that day, Mrs. Carter took special interest in Mary, not because she pitied her, but because she respected her. She gave Mary extra tasks, real business problems to solve. Mary worked quietly, carefully, and always delivered excellent results. Soon, Mary was invited to intern at Mrs. Carter's company. The office was huge. Glass walls, busy workers, loud meetings. At first, people ignored Mary. "She doesn't talk," some whispered. "Why is she here?" others asked. Mary didn't explain. She worked. She listened. She learned. One day, the company faced a serious problem. Money was being lost, but no one could find the reason. Meetings were held. Voices rose. Blame was passed. Mary sat quietly in the corner, reviewing reports. After the meeting, she walked to Mrs. Carter's office and gently placed a file on her desk. "I think this is where the problem is," Mary said. Mrs. Carter looked surprised but opened the file. Her eyes widened. Mary had found an error no one else noticed. Hidden numbers, careless assumptions, poor planning. "This is brilliant," Mrs. Carter whispered. The next day, Mary was called into the boardroom. People stared. Mrs. Carter said firmly, "This young woman saved our company millions. From today, she is part of our strategy team." The room went silent. The quiet girl had spoken and changed everything. Years passed. Mary grew, not louder but stronger. She rose step by step, not through shouting, but through wisdom, not through pride, but through patience. Eventually, Mary became one of the youngest executives in the company. Then came the day she returned to Riverbend City. She arrived in a simple car, dressed neatly. No pride, no revenge in her eyes. At the market, people stared. "Is that Mary? The quiet girl? The useless one?" Mrs. Ruth nearly dropped her basket when she saw Mary step into the compound. "You," she scoffed nervously. "Why are you here?" Mary looked at her calmly. "I came to say thank you," Mary said. "For what?" Mrs. Ruth asked, confused. "For teaching me that silence can be a shield," Mary replied, "and that strength does not need noise." Mrs. Ruth had no words. Mary visited her old school. Teachers froze when they saw her. The same teacher who mocked her said, quietly, "I was wrong." Mary smiled kindly. "We all grow," she said. Before leaving, Mary announced a scholarship fund for quiet, overlooked children, especially girls. "Some voices are soft," Mary said. standing before the crowd. But they still matter. The crowd applauded. Mary didn't bow. She simply smiled, because she had learned something powerful. They called her useless. They mocked her silence. But in the end, her silence made her powerful.